Verify ready for launch. FTS.
FTS go.
Props go. AVI.
AVI's go.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good afternoon and welcome to the USSF-366 mission. SpaceX's Falcon 9 rocket is currently awaiting liftoff from Space Launch Complex 4 East at Vandenberg Space Force Base in California, with liftoff targeted for 6:50 p.m. Pacific Time. Hello everyone, my name is Zachary Lupin and I'm an avionics supply chain engineer here at SpaceX. And thank you for joining for the second mission of today, and actually the second mission in just the last hour. This mission, USSF-366, carries a payload for the United States Space Force. And we also just had Globalstar 2R Launch 1 lift off shortly ago from Slick 40 in Florida, and that mission is actually still in progress with its payload deployment of 8 satellites scheduled for about an hour from now. Now, over on the West Coast, the range is currently green, and everything is looking to be on track for an on-time liftoff for SpaceX's 97th Falcon launch this year. And despite the cloudy skies, the weather is also green, with a 10% possibility of launch weather constraints. However, if for any reason we are unable to launch today, a backup opportunity is available tomorrow at 2:38 p.m. Pacific Time. Also, at the request of our customer, we will not be showing any Stage 2 or payload deployment views for this mission, so our live coverage will end right after the first stage landing. While that countdown continues, let's take a closer look at the launch vehicle supporting today's mission. The Falcon 9 rocket supporting today's mission is a 2-stage rocket designed for the reliable and safe transportation of satellites, cargo, and people. Starting from the very top of the rocket is the payload fairing. That fairing is a protective shell that shields the payload from aerodynamic heating until the vehicle is outside of the Earth's atmosphere. And that shape of the fairing contributes to Falcon 9's overall efficiency, helping to reduce drag during flight. Once in space, the two fairing halves will separate and fall back to Earth, where they'll be retrieved by a SpaceX recovery vessel to be refurbished and reused on future flights. And both halves of the fairing are flight proven, with one side flying for its 29th time and the other for its 27th. If recovery goes to plan, the fairings will be pulled from the ocean and prepped to fly again on future missions. Right below the payload fairing is Falcon 9's second stage, which features a single Merlin vacuum or MVAC engine. And below that second stage is the black carbon fiber inner stage, and inside of that is where that MVAC engine is currently located. And located below that is the first stage or booster, which very shortly will be...
RP1 load is complete.
And good call out that RP1 load is complete. Located below the inner stage is the first stage or booster, which very shortly will be fully loaded with about 1 million pounds of liquid oxygen and RP1 rocket-grade kerosene. And that first stage makes up the bottom 2/3 of the vehicle and has 9 Merlin M1D engines at the bottom, which generate more than 1.7 million pounds of thrust. And like the fairings today, the booster supporting this mission is also flight proven and will be making its 18th flight today. It's been flying since late 2024 and previously launched to NROL 126, Transporter 12, Sphere X, NROL 57, and 13 Starlink missions. Now, about 2.5 minutes into flight, the first stage will separate and return to Earth, and today the booster is headed to SpaceX's drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You, which is currently stationed in the Pacific Ocean. Now, with about 5.5 minutes to go, everything is on track for today's mission. Now, next up in the countdown, the Transporter Erector, or TE, will begin to retract away from Falcon 9. And the TE is that large support structure you see there next to the rocket. It's hinged at the base and connected to the launch mount beneath the first stage. First, we'll see the clamp arms around the second stage open, and then the TE will begin to pivot away, slowly swinging away from...
for strong back retract.
And good call out there for the strong back retract, which is about to start. So first, we'll see those clamp arms around the second stage open, and then the TE will begin to pivot back, slowly swinging away from the vehicle.
Strong back retract.
And there's that call out that the strong back retract is started, and you can just make out those clamp arms beginning to open around the second stage. Those clamps help stabilize the second stage during fueling and prevent movement in high winds. Once they're open, the rocket will be fully free at the top, but will still be held down at the base. Now you may hear the TE called the strongback, though a strongback is just one of the components of the transporter erector, and it actually has two, a strongback alongside Falcon 9 and a launch mount underneath. The launch mount has the 4 hold downs that release at T0. The TE also does a lot of heavy lifting as it rolls Falcon 9 out to the pad, raises it vertical, and stays connected to the rocket through the final seconds before launch. It also provides fuel, power, telemetry, and command connections between ground systems and the rocket. And there you can see that strongback retracting away from Falcon 9. Now, coming up shortly, we should hear the call out indicating that LOX loading has finished on the Falcon 9 first stage. And we should hear that call out in just about 15 seconds from now. That first stage is fully loaded around the T-minus 3 minute mark, and then the second stage will finish up about a minute later.
Stage 1 LOX load is complete.
And there's that call out for completion of Stage 1 LOX loading. So at this stage in the countdown, the rocket is nearly fully loaded with about 1 million pounds of propellant. And that includes Rocket Propellant 1, or RP1, which is a highly refined kerosene, and liquid oxygen, or LOX, chilled to roughly 300 degrees Fahrenheit below zero. Now, looking ahead in the count at T-minus 60 seconds, Falcon 9 will enter startup, and at that point, the rocket's onboard flight computers will take over. And from there on out, the countdown will be fully autonomous. Just inside of that T-minus 2 second mark, the 9 Merlin 1D engines will ignite, and once they're at full power, Falcon 9 will lift off from the pad and begin its climb to orbit. Now at T-minus 2 minutes and 10 seconds, the range is still green, the payload remains healthy, and the team is tracking no issues. And we should hear a call out for Stage 2 LOX load completion in just a few moments.
Stage 2 LOX load is complete.
And there's that call out that Stage 2 LOX loading has completed. Falcon 9 is now fully loaded with 1 million pounds of RP1 and liquid oxygen. And coming up in just a couple moments, we should hear the call out for
Gas closeouts.
right on cue, the call out for gas closeouts, and that refers to venting and closing out gaseous systems, such as topping off tanks and sealing vents to maintain pressure. And coming up in just about 17 seconds from now, we should hear that call out for Falcon 9 being in startup.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
And there's that call out that Falcon 9 is in startup. At this point, the autonomous flight computers have taken over the launch countdown, and both stages are pressurizing for launch. We're now just waiting on the final go, no-go from the launch director.
Go for launch.
And there's that final go for today's mission. So let's sit back and watch as Falcon 9 takes USSF-366 to space.
T-minus 3 seconds. T-minus 15 seconds. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. And liftoff of Falcon 9. Go SpaceX, go USSF-366.
M1D chamber pressure is nominal.
At T plus 30 seconds and counting, Falcon 9 has successfully lifted off from Space Launch Complex 4 East at Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. The vehicle is now throttling down its engines to prepare for max Q, which is the point of maximum aerodynamic
Power
pressure.
and telemetry nominal.
And good call out there for nominal telemetry. The engines are now throttling down to prepare for max Q, the point of maximum aerodynamic pressure during ascent. Now max Q occurs when the
Vehicle is supersonic.
There's a call out that the vehicle is now supersonic, traveling faster than the speed of sound. The max Q occurs when the combination of speed and air pressure puts the greatest stress on the vehicle, and we should hear that call out in just a few moments.
Max Q.
And right on cue. There's that call out for max Q. Now coming up next, we'll have a few events happening in quick succession, starting with MECO, followed by stage separation, and then SES-1. Main engine cutoff, or MECO, is where all 9 Merlin 1D engines shut down to slow the vehicle down in preparation for stage separation, which is where the first and second stages separate from one another. Now following this, the MVAC engine on the second stage will light, which is called out as second engine start 1, or SES-1. Now that burn, which will last for several minutes, will propel the second stage and the payload to orbit. And in addition to these major events, the fairing halves will separate about half a minute after SES-1. And as a reminder, we will not have any views of Falcon 9 second stage or the payload at the request of our customer today. Now we should be hearing the first of those callouts in just about 20 seconds for now, and as a reminder, that'll be for main engine cutoff or MECO.
MECO. Stage separation confirmed.
MVAC startup.
And there we heard those callouts for MECO, followed by stage separation, and then second engine start 1, or SES-1. And coming up shortly, we should hear a callout for fairing separation, but as a reminder, we will not be showing it on screen. And as I mentioned earlier, both of the payload fairing halves supporting today's mission
Fairing
are...
separation confirmed.
And there's that call out for fairing separation. Both of those fairings are already flight proven, with one half flying for its 27th time today, and the other for its 29th. Now, if you're just joining us, you're watching live coverage of the USSF-366 mission. To recap so far, we had an on-time liftoff at 6:50 p.m. Pacific Time from Space Launch Complex 4 East at Vandenberg Space Force Base in California, and had successful stage separation of our Falcon rocket. Up next will be the return of our Falcon 9 booster to Earth. Now, in order to make its way back to Earth today, the Falcon 9 first stage has 2 more burns to execute. First up will be the entry burn, which helps to slow the stage down as it re-enters the upper parts of the Earth's atmosphere. And then following that entry burn, shortly thereafter, the booster will initiate its landing burn, which will slow the vehicle down for a soft touchdown on our drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You. And we're expecting that entry burn to begin at around the T plus 6 minute mark. Now, during the entry burn, Falcon 9 is decelerating by firing its Merlin engines in the direction that it's moving, and this causes the rocket to fly through the engine's exhaust gases, which deposits a layer of soot on the vehicle's surface. And this is what gives SpaceX's flight-proven vehicles their characteristic look. That soot comes from the carbon-based fuel that Falcon 9 uses, and with each flight, the soot builds up a little more on the outside of the vehicle. Now, we're about a minute and a half away from the start of that entry burn of the Falcon 9 first stage, and you can follow along with the telemetry shown at the bottom of your screen, with the vehicle's altitude and speed shown at the bottom left-hand corner, and the engine light-up status shown on the right. Now, the Falcon 9 booster is also equipped with 4 hypersonic grid fins, and you can see 2 of them there on your screen, along with some beautiful views of the clouds above the ocean beneath. And those 2 grid fins, which are positioned near the top of the first stage, are used to steer the vehicle as it returns to Earth. Those grid fins are the primary aerodynamic control surfaces for the first stage during atmospheric reentry and descent, and are a critical part of Falcon 9's reusability system. From time to time, you may also spot white puffs coming from Falcon 9, and those are the cold nitrogen gas bursts which help with attitude control. Now, reusability is key to lowering the cost of spaceflight, which enables more investments in critical space infrastructure. The Falcon 9 first stage that is supporting today's mission will be performing its entry burn shortly for its 18th time. And we should be hearing that call out for the start of the entry burn in just about 5 seconds from now.
Stage 1 FTS is saved.
Stage 1, entry burn startup.
And there's that call out for entry burn startup on the Falcon 9 first stage. This burn will last about 24 seconds and again is slowing down the vehicle in preparation for its final burn and landing on our drone ship.
Stage 1, entry burn shutdown.
And there's that call out for entry burn shutdown, signifying the completion of that entry burn. And coming up next will be the first stage landing burn. Now, as a reminder, this is the final burn by the booster and is used to reduce the remaining speed of the vehicle for a precise landing. For today, our booster is targeting a soft touchdown on our drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You, which is currently stationed in the Pacific Ocean. And we're just under a minute away from the start of that landing burn. Now, as I discussed earlier, the booster forms the lower 2/3 of the overall Falcon rocket stack, and as its name suggests, Falcon 9, it is equipped with 9 Merlin 1D engines. And the Merlins on the first stage are optimized for sea level, and these achieve 190,000 pounds of thrust each during ascent and descent. At liftoff, Falcon's first stage has thrust greater than 5 747 airplanes at full power.
Stage 1, transonic.
And there's that call out that stage 1 is now transonic. And we should be hearing the call out for the landing burn in just about 20 seconds from now.
Stage 1, landing burn.
And there's that call out for
Stage
landing
2,
burn startup
terminal
on our
guidance.
booster.
Stage 1, landing leg deploy. Stage 1, landing confirmed.
And another successful landing for Falcon 9. And with this second mission today,
Stage 2 FTS is saved.
we have actually broken our previous record for fastest time between launches. Our previous record was 1 hour, 5 minutes, set back in August 2024 by a pair of Starlink missions, and our new record as of now is 38 minutes. So congratulations to the entire SpaceX team on this new achievement. Now, as I mentioned at the top of the program, we will not be showing any Stage 2 or deployment views today at the request of our customer. So with the successful recovery of Falcon 9's first stage, we'll be bringing today's live mission coverage to a close. We'd like to thank the United States Space Force for entrusting SpaceX with today's mission, as well as the Range and FAA for their support. And if you're interested in more launch coverage, head on over to spacex.com/launches for the most up-to-date information. And while you're there, check out the departure board for details on SpaceX's upcoming missions. And of course, be sure to follow @SpaceX on X for ongoing updates. As always, thank you for joining, and we'll see you again soon.